that pedal down on the floor. Push it to the top, can't take no more. Big hair sends the flag game down. Be here to the last lap around. Worked all week, it's time to play. Gonna get a little bit sideways. Hair sends the flag game down. Be here to the last lap around. Worked all week, it's time to play. Gonna get a little bit sideways.
Good evening, race fans. It's just a couple minutes past the top of the hour here this evening, but it's time once again for another hour-long edition of the fastest recap show from around the world of motorsports. You're listening to Motorsports Madness right here tonight on Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Tonight, things get amped up as we talk NASCAR action from the previous weekend here in the hometown, Charlotte, North Carolina. We've got IndyCar and F1 action a little later on in the show with our wine and cheeser Joel Sebastianelli. And we've got recap and analysis from this year's Syracuse 200 with a live interview from race winner Billy Dunn. It all starts right now on Motorsports Madness. We're glad you're along for the ride. Hello everyone and welcome to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. I'm Jacob Seelman, alongside my co-host, as always, here at the 77 Roundtable, Tom Baker, and we're glad you're with us for tonight's edition of Motorsports Madness. We're sure it's going to be an exciting one, and Tom, as always, when we sit down to talk motorsports here at the Roundtable, got a lot to talk about, some news from the past week, some upset victories over the weekend, but also a lot of the status quo that we have come to expect here over the past couple months as well.
Yeah, it was a busy weekend for sure, both regionally and also, of course, nationally, and some interesting news creeping up on us here over the last couple of days out of the NASCAR world, so I'm sure we'll get to all of that as the show goes on.
That we will, and we're going to start off tonight with a look from around the NASCAR Sprint Cup and Nationwide Series. NASCAR coming home to Charlotte, North Carolina this past weekend, and lo and behold, life would get very, very interesting. We'll start with the Sprint Cup Series, the Bank of America 500 under the lights, Saturday night, race 5 of the chase. And for a while, we've not necessarily associated Charlotte with Jimmy Johnson. Of course, back when the track was named after his sponsor, Lowe's, Johnson became a 6-time winner, won 3 times each in the fall race and in the Coca-Cola 600, including 4 consecutive at the racetrack. We saw Jimmy Johnson start to reassert some of his dominance, though, Saturday night in the in the Bank of America 500. Johnson certainly putting on a dominating performance. Between he and teammate Casey Kane, they combined to lead nearly 250 of the 334 laps that made up the distance in Saturday night's event. But Tom, it wouldn't be the chase without somebody to crash the party, and lo and behold, the defending Sprint Cup champion comes along. Brad Keselowski on late tire strategy, 4 tires to Casey Kane's 2. Jimmy Johnson on the restart, who had dominated, led more than 100 laps, gets shuffled back to 7th. He can't make it back to the front, and all of a sudden, the Blue Deuce comes calling, puts on a fierce battle with Casey Kane in the closing laps, puts it in victory lane for the first time since Dover of last year, breaking a 38-race winless streak. He may not be in the chase, but hello, Brad Keselowski. He certainly crashed the party on Saturday night.
Well, BK loves a good party. I've never known BK to turn away a good party. BK's a party animal in his own right, and, he really just did a great job. And I think all year long we've been waiting for this. It's been such a bizarre year for that team. I mean, they've had the penalties and the miscues, and really just a really bizarre year. Not the kind of year that you would expect out of a Roger Penske-led team, but you know what? It's how it goes in racing sometimes, and I don't think anybody would have really put a whole lot of money on Brad when the race started, but again, that's why they run him. He was there at the end, and It just makes me chuckle every week. These things, it's always after the race is over, we have a great race and a really an ending that was just amazing. And all people want to talk about on Facebook is debris cautions. Like, you just can't please some folks. But I thought it was a great battle between him and Casey. And again, you said it. It was 4 tires versus 2. And, Brad, the pit strategy won him the race. And, this is a year where you would have thought that you would have seen Brad chasing the title again. He's nowhere in the hunt for the championship. So, every party needs a pooper. And in this case, that honor belonged to Brad Keselowski. But, man, there were just a lot of great performances in that race. As you said, Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson led a bunch of it. It wasn't a great race in the middle. I mean, they kind of just, it was kind of slow and easy for a while as far as the action goes anyway. But boy, the end of it was fantastic, and Friday night's nationwide race was too. So just a great weekend at Charlotte and beautiful weather all through the weekend, just abnormally warm here in the Charlotte area, and it still is.
Ha ha ha, that it is, no doubt. It's been a very toasty day. Not that I don't think any of us are complaining, certainly. But
not at all.
Looking down the list, Keselowski taking his first win of the year, as we mentioned, 10th overall, so he moves into that elite class of drivers who have double-digit wins in the NASCAR Sprint Cup column. He's the first non-chase driver to win a chase race since Casey Kane at Phoenix in November of 2011. Speaking of Casey Kane, he leads the most laps but comes up 1 spot short, finishes second. Matt Kenseth, boy did Kenseth with 4 tires come on strong there at the end as well. That race with Casey Kane, Kenseth came up just short by about a nose at the checkered flag. Jimmy Johnson, after leading so many laps, finishes 4th. Kyle Busch 5th. Chasers who I expected to have good runs and really didn't, or just had mediocre runs. Kurt Busch 14th, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 15th, especially Joey Logano, who had 6 top 10s in 8 Charlotte starts, finishes 18th. But I revolve back to 2 guys who had the right strategy for so much of the race. Casey Kane, but especially Jimmy Johnson. We saw how much of this race Johnson led as well. A missed opportunity at one of his favorite racetracks, perhaps?
Well, sure it was. But I mean, it's you take a gamble and you go with your best guess on these things, and sometimes 2 tires works out well, sometimes 4 tires works out better, sometimes you're just outside the rail on track position. I mean, it like I said, that's why they run the race. It was definitely a missed opportunity, but equally so for Casey Kane, who could have had a win, and the Hendrick cars pretty much dominated the day, but at the end of it, there was a Penske Ford sitting in victory lane, and that's Charlotte is known for this kind of a thing where somebody comes out of nowhere and just has a great last run, or it comes down to fuel mileage, whatever the case may be. And we saw that again on Saturday night. It was a 2-tire versus 4-tire situation, and BK had the right pit stop strategy. We all know that there's nobody that'll run a car any harder than Brad Keselowski, especially when he smells a win. And he just drove it for all it was worth, and he had enough. That was just some great racing at the end with him and Casey, and then, as you said, with Matt and Casey as well.
And talking about Matt Kenseth there in the closing laps, that position that Matt Kenseth ultimately finished ahead of Jimmy Johnson. Matt finished 3rd, Jimmy 4th. Ultimately, the difference in points going to Talladega this weekend, Matt Kenseth picks up 1 marker on Johnson to make it a 4-point differential headed to Talladega. And oh, how things can change going to Talladega. We talk about it so many times. This weekend is going to be one to watch. But before we get off the Charlotte subject, how about the NASCAR Nationwide Series event from Friday night as well? And I have 2 words for you on this one, Tom, and then I'll let you elaborate. Status quo And I'll give you 2 more words. Kyle Busch.
Well, yeah, Kyle Busch won the race, but I think that I don't think that really tells the story of the race itself. That was a really, really good race, and there could have been 5 or 6 cars at the end that could have won had Brian Vickers and Elliott Sadler not just had the absolute most bizarre situation occur that I've probably seen all year, in the sense that, Vickers swerves to avoid an accident and just happens to run into his teammate Sadler, who was coming out of the pits at the same time. I mean, that's just unbelievably weird. And those 2 guys were fast, and I think they likely would have figured into the finish. But, you had Austin Dillon up there. You had 3 or 4 guys that could have easily. Sam Hornish was up there. You had several guys that could have won that race. Kyle, again, it was a case of a driver who was driving that car for all it was worth. And Kyle won it, but he surely didn't dominate, especially that last segment.
Certainly not, but as it is, the win tally still stands with Kyle Busch victorious. 62nd career nationwide win, 11th win of the season. Both, obviously, the series win total, he continues to extend the mark, but that season total as well, 11 wins. He's closing in on Sam Ard's record that he tied back in, I believe it was 2010, when he won 13 times. Closing in on that record, and he's got a couple more races this season to try and break it. Just 3 races to go for the Nationwide Series before we head to commercial. Nationwide points, oh, by the way, we've got a points battle yet. Austin Dillon and Sam Hornish Jr. came into the race 8 points apart, came out of the race 8 points apart. Austin Dillon finishes 1 spot ahead of Sam Hornish, but Sam Hornish gets an extra bonus point for leading the most laps on the night. Remarkably, for a while we thought maybe Sam Hornish had something in it for the win, but Hornish fades a little bit at the end of the race, and those 2 drivers end up deadlocked in points going into now Texas here in a couple of weeks. Nationwide guys have a couple weeks off, but Tom, just 3 races to go. What do you make of this points battle between Austin Dillon and Sam Hornish?
Oh, I just think it's going to be a battle right down to the wire. I mean, you've got tracks coming up that are, relatively racer neutral as far as, both drivers run well at the tracks, most of the tracks that are left. I think it's going to come right down to the end. Disappointment for Elliott Sadler for sure, because Elliott was still, he still would have had a good chance at, at being in this thing, but then he ended up getting taken out in a bizarre incident when his teammate hit him through no fault of Brian's. Just a sad situation there. But I think this points battle is going to be phenomenal. I think it's worth pointing out that neither in the Nationwide Series nor in the Truck Series do we have a chase. It just goes straight to the end of the year, and every year it seems like we have a points battle right down to the end. So I think it's great that these series are so even like that and that they can do that. And I love the fact that while Kyle Busch is cleaning the clocks every week on the track, he's getting nothing for points because, you can only race for points in one series. So while the owner's points certainly are between Joe Gibbs and Roger Penske, the driver's points, Kyle Busch is nowhere in it, and we're going to see a battle right down to the wire between 2 drivers who really race hard, and I think 2 drivers that you're going to see full-time in the Cup Series next year. I would have to believe that Sam Hornish is going to be somewhere, unless, maybe he just runs out of options if Martin Truex sneaks into the 78 car. But certainly, we all know Austin Dillon's going to end up in the 29/3 full-time. We just know that's coming.
That we do, and we're going to take our first caution flag here tonight on Motorsports Madness. When we come back, we're going to have a little bit of sprint car news to talk about here in the early going to the show. We've got some more news out of the NASCAR garage. Tom, you mentioned Brian Vickers a few minutes ago. We've got some more on him, and we've got some speculation floating around as silly season continues to drag on. All that and more coming up as Motorsports Madness rolls on. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State,
Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
half empty,
Half full.
But no matter how different we are, we're all connected, and we can all make a difference. That's why United Way brings people, expertise, and resources together to improve the education, income, and health of our communities, the building blocks for a better life. When we live united, our efforts, magnified by others, add up to real change. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly, so do our communities. But real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So let's look beyond our differences.
Live united.
One by one, let's make a difference. Let's reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all.
Live united.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Did you know that most teens who drink alcohol get it from people they know? Usually their friends or family members. But regardless of where they get it, alcohol puts teens at risk for injury, to themselves and to others. You can help make it a safe summer for the teens you know. Don't serve them alcohol. It's unsafe, it's illegal, and it's irresponsible. Find out more at don'tserveteens.gov. That's don'tserveteens.gov. A message from the Federal Trade Commission and this station.
For every turn, a twist. For every start, an untimely finish. For every win, someone who loses it. For every number, a nation. For every celebration, a brawl. For every split second, years of work. For every heaven, a hell. For every good old boy, a good old girl. For every curse, a prayer. For every ounce of order, a jug of chaos. For every twist, there's a turn.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker,
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio.
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We move into segment 2 of our show, headed towards the cross flags. That means we're halfway home at the bottom of the hour. Right now, we're going to shift gears for just a moment out of the NASCAR world and move into the world of sprint car racing for just a moment. The World of Outlaws were in action over the weekend on Saturday night as part of Napa Super Dirt Week 2013 at the 5/8 mile Rolling Wheels Raceway Park near Syracuse, New York. And oh, Tom, how many times have we said his name this year? Allow me to say it again. Donnie Schatz picks up his 22nd World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series victory for 2013. Tequila does it again. And Schatz in that Tony Stewart Racing STP number 15 moves now to 146 career World of Outlaws wins. He cuts the points gap a little bit. It's down to 52 points over Darren Pittman, but Darren Pittman really minimized the damage. And now we've just got 2 races to go. All roads lead to Charlotte. The World Finals here in just a couple weeks, November 7th through the 9th. And Tom, the Outlaws, it's coming down to it. It's all down to Charlotte. And I think Darren Pittman this weekend at Rolling Wheels did exactly what he needed to do to be able to take home this championship in a couple weeks at Charlotte. Minimized the bleeding.
Well, he did. Sure he did. He did exactly what he needed to do, but, there's still a lot of racing left to be run here. In the World Finals, this show is always a hair scramble. Probably a lot of old folk don't know what that term means. It's a BMX term, and that is definitely a hair scramble type of situation where you never know. It's like rolling dice. You never know what's going to happen. This is a crazy track for the sprint cars. They really get going, and a lot of wild stuff happens on World Final Weekend. So Pittman definitely protected himself as best he could, though, but doggone, he's going to have all he wants right down to the end of this if he's going to win it.
That he is. And how about a look at the top 5 real quick from Rolling Wheels? Schatz, of course, taking $10,000 for the win. Paul McMahon second, Craig Delansky third, Pittman finishes fourth, and Craig Kinzer rounds out the top 5. Again, all roads lead to Charlotte. The World of Outlaws wrap up here at the World Finals in just a couple weeks, November 7th through the 9th at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Now, Tom, we've talked World of Outlaws, but a little birdie tells me that there's some more sprint car news that you have gotten your hands on here. Anything to talk about from the open wheel world?
Well, a little bit. New sprint car series coming to the Carolinas. It's a 305 sprint car series. It will be making its debut in 2014, and I guess you could call this a bit of a teaser announcement. No press releases have been issued yet. There is a meeting this weekend, an informational meeting of sorts on Saturday at the Quaker Steak and Lube here in Charlotte, but I can tell you that I'm really excited to be able to help orchestrate this new series coming into town. It's the ASCS Carolina Sprint Series, ASCS Carolina Sprint Series, and God has blessed me with the opportunity to be the owner, operator, director of this series, and I need to give a lot of credit to a local racer named Sean Mott, one of the local sprint car racers. He has really done a great job of putting some of the early pieces in place, and has already been able to acquire some contingency sponsors, and we've got one race right now that is confirmed for a mid-May 2014 date down in Sumter, South Carolina, with race sponsorship. So looking at about a 20 race schedule, and should be a lot of fun. There's definitely room for growth in the sprint car market here in Charlotte, and just one of those situations that every once in a while falls into your lap, and I'm excited to be a part of it, and definitely looking forward to building a staff and going out and putting the pieces in place to make this work. And again, there'll be much more about this in actually a little bit later this week, and then of course after Saturday. More in the coming weeks, but just a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement about it, and just a neat opportunity. So glad for the chance to sort of provide an advance exclusive for the folks here on Motorsports Madness about that. But ASCS Carolina Sprint Series 305. The sprint cars are coming to the Carolinas next year. Again, North Carolina, South Carolina, maybe a bit of Virginia, Georgia mixed in there, but certainly looking forward to a lot of fun with that. So it'll be great to have some more sprint car racing here in the Charlotte area, not trying to replace anybody, just simply trying to expand the scope here, and really excited to be a part of it.
As are a lot of people I know in the area who are familiar with a little bit of what's going on. And as you said, a meeting on Saturday, informational meeting down in Concord, and I can guarantee all you listeners out there that as more information comes out on the ASCS Carolina Sprint Series, we'll bring it to RaceChaserOnline.com and to you right here on Motorsports Madness as it becomes available. Now, Tom, before the commercial break here, you mentioned Brian Vickers, and I said we had more news out of the NASCAR garage as well. Always hate to announce stuff like this, but Brian Vickers sidelined from the race car once again. They've discovered another blood clot in one of his calves, and I guess the doctors prescribe him blood thinners again, just as they did before for driver number 55, but that's at least going to sideline Brian Vickers until the end of the 2013 2013 season. All parties have said they look for Brian to be ready to go in time for the 2014 Daytona 500 and Sprint Unlimited. But, you know, you always hate news like this. And Brian's a good guy from right out here in North Carolina, and we hate to not see him in the race car here for the last couple weeks of 2013.
Yeah, it's just really a sad situation. It's really a heartbreaking deal because Brian, he's worked so hard to get back into it. And of course, since the first time he sat in the 55 car, when he came back as a part-time driver, he's really made the most of all the opportunities. And I just can't express enough how sad we are that Brian is going to be out for the season. But the main thing is to get him healthy, and if it takes the rest of the year to do that, and let him have a couple of months off here before Daytona, then that was the best decision that could be made. And unfortunately, it's just another blow for Michael Waltrip Racing too, who's already had quite an upheaval over the last 4 to 6 weeks or so. And the other announcement that came out was that the 56 car would not be a full-time race car in 2014, that the 55 and 15 cars will be the only 2 full-time cars out of MWR's shops. So therefore, Martin Truex now, by default, a free agent. And, a lot of rumors about where he might go. I think the Furniture Row team, obviously, at the top of that list. Napa still floating around out there, not sure where they're going. Chad Johnston, the crew chief, certainly looking for work, and a lot of the crew members as well. So hopefully it'll all work out. But it sure would be good to see Brian back in 2014. And in the meantime, looks like Michael's going to drive the 55 at Talladega. Not sure after that. Wouldn't be surprised to see him stay in it. There's just not a long list of drivers, and they already basically traded Mark Martin to Stuart Haas. So I don't know really what you do there. But I could definitely see Michael Waltrip spending some more time behind the wheel of that car as we get down to the last 3-4 races of the year.
Last thing before we take our halftime caution flag, the 2014 NASCAR Sprint Cup schedule was announced today. And Tom, I guess there's not a whole lot to say about this just because there weren't a whole lot of notable changes. The only major change to the schedule for 2014 is a date swap between Kansas, the Spring Kansas race, which moves to a night race, and Darlington, which moves off of Mother's Day weekend into about mid-April. So we see 2014 stay largely the same. Does that surprise you at all?
It doesn't surprise me. Nice to see him get off of Mother's Day. I always thought that was kind of silly, honestly, and good that they could go to a Saturday night and let everybody celebrate with their moms on Mother's Day. It doesn't surprise me. It does disappoint me, though. I was hoping to see a little bit of a difference in the chase with maybe another road course or something like that, but apparently just not able to put the right pieces in place. So really not a big announcement there. Not much to talk about. It'll be kind of more of the same in 2014. Hopefully, eventually, maybe they'll shake the chase up a little bit. I always think it's good every once in a while to shake things up a bit, just for the sake of change and freshness and newness and something different. But apparently, NASCAR didn't agree with me this time.
Oh, if NASCAR listened to everything we had to say, I guarantee you things wouldn't look the way they do right now by a long shot.
They'd be in big trouble.
We're going to take our halftime caution flag, so we're going to pause about 90 seconds here, and when we come back, it's time to talk open wheel. We've got Joel Sebastianelli back for another edition of Open Wheel Central here on Motorsports Madness. That's coming up right after these messages. You're listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We are your home for motorsports.
Maybe you know who we are.
But do you know who we really are?
We're ladies.
And not so gentle men.
We're a mad scientist.
We're outlaws turned heroes.
We're part athlete.
Part astronaut. And all show off. We're a flash mob. We're bigger than most towns. We're everything.
You never expect.
He slammed into the jet drop.
We're always testing the limits and each other.
We're the unknown coming at you at 200 miles per hour.
We're fire, we're smoke.
Nerves colliding with steel.
We're the loudest party on earth.
We live at the corner of Mayhem and Maine.
Oh no! They crossed the line, and guess who wins the race?
Where anything can happen. It usually does.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio.
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. He's back. Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. And it's time for another Open Wheel Central segment here on this Tuesday night. And to do that, who else could we bring back but our resident wine and cheeser? Tom, pull out the silverware and let's fine dine as we welcome back Joel Sebastianelli to the round table with us once again. Joel, a big weekend in open wheel racing as we get set to conclude the 2013 IZOD IndyCar Series at Fontana this weekend, so we've got a lot to talk about here over this next segment of the show. But first off, welcome back.
Great to be back on as always. Gotta love some wine and cheese no matter what time.
Absolutely. And we're going to dive right in here. Obviously, the biggest news on the docket as we go into this racing weekend coming up is the IZOD IndyCar finale, the IndyCar World Championships at Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. Always an exciting race. We saw it brought back to the schedule last year, and we saw a thrilling finish. Ed Carpenter taking the lead in a last lap pass before the caution came out. An unbelievable race last year with a lot of lead changes, a lot of side-by-side drama, a lot of championship drama as we saw between Ryan Hunter-Reay and Will Power, and we're down to the same here in 2013 with a great championship battle between Scott Dixon and Helio Castroneves brewing as we come down to the close of the season. What's in store for this championship battle here as we go to the final race of the season? We've seen both Scott Dixon and Helio Castroneves be very strong on super speedways in the past. Can you really say that either one of them has an edge as we go into the twilight hours of the IndyCar season?
Well, I think you absolutely can, and the person who has the advantage is Scott Dixon. He has a 25-point lead on Helio Castroneves, which may not necessarily sound like a lot, but it really is. He's got to keep Dixon outside the top 5, and he needs to be as high up as he possibly can. Helio cannot have a weekend like he had in Houston. He needs to be flawless. The thing about Helio is that he's been very consistent all year, in the top 10 for just about every single race. Wasn't in the top 10 at all in Houston, and was not in the top 10 at Sao Paulo. Every other race this season, he has finished inside the top 10, but only has one victory, that coming at the Texas Motor Speedway in June. So you've got to think that Helio needs to go a little bit above and beyond just a 6th place finish or an 8th place finish. He needs to go for it all. He's got to win, and he's got to hope that he has a little bit of help for a little bit of misfortune to strike Scott Dixon too, the way it has struck him the past week or so.
And I think that was the most surprising thing out of Houston, was that Helio Castroneves had all the misfortune that he did. But, you know, when you go to one of these super speedway events, you can't just look at the championship contenders for this, Scott Dixon and Helio Castroneves. You've got guys like Tony Kanaan, the Indy 500 winner. You've got guys like Ed Carpenter, who are always good on these high-speed racetracks. You've got guys like Alex Tagliani, who's in for Dario Franchitti, as Franchitti recovering from the injuries he sustained in that last lap crash in Houston. Can you pick a favorite as far as for the race win here as we go into Saturday night, or is this one going to be one of those turn 4 last lap, we're not going to know till the checkered flag kind of races that IndyCar seems to be so known for on these high-speed ovals over the past couple years?
Well, I have a hunch that it will be like that. Once again, it's coming down to the final race, and I don't think that this is something that's going to be wrapped up. And there may be a little bit of heartbreak for Helio Castroneves, too. If you go back to last year in 2012, Will Power seemingly having the championship in his grasp, only to spin at one point during the race and tap the wall. His race was done, and so was his hopes for a championship, with Ryan Hunter-Reay taking the title in 2012. This year, Hunter-Reay has struggled in the last few races, but you've got to think with him finishing 4th last year, he may be a favorite. Scott Dixon, too. Scott Dixon needs all the points he can grab. He's won the last 2 races. Ganassi always very strong at tracks like this, as is Scott Dixon.
And it's going to be very interesting to see. Obviously, Alex Tagliani going to be in that potent Chip Ganassi car. He's always good on the oval, so it'll be very, very interesting to see how some of these cards play out. And one of those cards that we didn't expect, but now will return to us after a stellar performance in the Indianapolis 500 and maybe in his swan song, so to speak, for Roger Penske before moving over to the JTG Daugherty Sprint Cup ride in 2014. AJ Allmendinger going to have one last hurrah in that number 2 Team Penske machine. Izod sponsorship, coincidentally enough, going on that number 2 car in the final race for series sponsor Izod as well. Roger Penske seems to be playing the strategy. A good move on his part to bring in Allmendinger for the finale?
I think it's a good move. He was very good at the Indianapolis 500, qualified 5th, finished 7th, looked very comfortable, and for him racing on ovals for so long, you've got to think that AJ Allmendinger would be good at a track like California. Fontana would definitely suit him well. Even though he's been a little bit inconsistent and has finished in the back for most of the races, you need to remember that those were all road courses. The Indy 500 was the only race he's won this season on an oval. So I think he'll do quite fine. It's just a shame that AJ's not going to be staying in IndyCar. Because if you look at the way he performed in Champ Car, especially as a rookie, and the way he's performed in the IndyCar series and NASCAR, he just belongs in an open-wheel car, not in NASCAR at all. This is where he belongs. This is where he's best, and it's just a shame that we're not going to be able to see him here for the rest of his career, in theory, if everything works out in NASCAR.
And that we shall see. Obviously, though, IndyCar not the only storyline to talk about here tonight in the open wheel world. Obviously, Formula One racing over the past weekend in Japan, the Suzuka circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix, and it wouldn't be Formula One news if we weren't saying Sebastian Vettel's name, would it be? 5 straight wins on the Formula One championship. He extends his lead now to 90 points. He's just within about 10 points of clinching the 2013 title, which would be his 4th consecutive. Fernando Alonso has all but conceded the championship, and barring certain disaster, there's no reason to think that that trophy won't have Sebastian Vettel's name on it after the next Formula One event. Joel, utter dominance. And you've said it before in our Open Wheel Central segment, but I bring it back up because it's so true about what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a rebirth of this series going through eras. First it was the Schumacher era, then it was Alonso for several years, and now we're seeing Sebastian Vettel just be absolutely unstoppable. He didn't get the pole, but he got the win, and he is so close now to inking his name on that 2013 championship trophy.
He managed the tires so well throughout that race. You got to remember, he wasn't leading for the entire thing, but he went many laps longer. I believe it was 6 laps on the final set of tires than Roland Grosjean was able to do, running on the exact same set of tires. Vettel is just so good. He's been so good all year long. You can only chalk up the car to being so much. A lot of it's driver, and he shined once again. There's only 4 races remaining on the Formula One calendar this year. India, Abu Dhabi, Austin, Texas at the Circuit of the Americas, and Interlagos in Brazil. With Sebastian Vettel leading Fernando Alonso by 90 points, and with 25 points being given out for a victory, if Alonso won every single race, and Vettel did not finish 3 of them and finished 3rd in the other, he would still win the title by way of the tiebreaker, winning far more races than Fernando Alonso has. That's remarkable. If Fernando Alonso was somehow able to pull off this title, it would be one of the biggest chokes in sports history on the part of Sebastian Vettel. It would make the United States over the Soviet Union hockey team like the Broncos over the Jaguars, which is to say nothing at all. Just move along, folks. Nothing to see there back in 1980. This would be one of the biggest comebacks really in all of sports, and it's too bad that Americans wouldn't appreciate it the way that overseas they would, but you'd have to think that this would get some sort of coverage. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. No way that, even if Sebastian Vettel was to finish at the back of the pack in every single race and not be classified due to a DNF, Fernando Alonso would have to win at least 3 of those races to even be remotely in contention. This is Sebastian Vettel's title that's really already sewn up, quite frankly.
Tom, you gotta love Joel. He's the only guy that I know that could pull football into a racing discussion. You gotta appreciate the humor, and you gotta appreciate what he brings to the table. Joel, boy, oh boy, oh boy, we always appreciate having you in here. It's always a blast, and we're looking forward to everything you'll have to say to us after the IndyCar finale here at Fontana next Tuesday.
I certainly hope so. It's going to be a great race weekend. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Actually, the funniest part was the show he did with me where he actually brought in a Snuggies for Dogs comparison. That was the all-time topper.
I'm not even gonna ask. I'm not even gonna ask.
You don't want to know.
I'm glad you didn't, because I don't remember why I said it, but it definitely sounds like something I would say now, doesn't it?
Double file restarts. Joel, does that trigger it?
A little bit. It definitely does. You know, you got to stay on your toes out there in racing. You
called it the worst idea since Snuggies for Dogs. That's exactly what you said, and you were absolutely right.
Well, the entertainment value has definitely been there with it. But in terms of keeping these cars on one piece, how much money has the IndyCar series blown through with these double file restarts? You would think that they would have figured it out at some point, but the lasting image I have in my head is just at Baltimore and I believe Toronto one year, when you just have corners clogged up and nobody can pass because so many people have just stalled their cars in the middle. That's the image I've got of it.
Exactly right.
Oh, bless. I'm not even going to get started on this because I'm still too busy laughing about it. Joel Sebastianelli, as always, we appreciate your commentary on all things open wheel. We look forward to keeping an eye on the IndyCar finale with you this weekend. Formula One in action, as you said, the Indian Grand Prix a week from now. Until next time, thanks for coming in and talking with us at the round table, and we appreciate it as always.
Great to be on.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back for our final segment, we're going to talk dirt modified racing. Napa Super Dirt Week always concluding with one of the biggest shows on dirt, the Syracuse 200, and we have got race winner, upset winner, Billy Dunn in studio live to chat with us about his unbelievable run to Napa Super Dirt Week Syracuse 200 glory. That conversation comes to the round table when we come back. You're listening to Motorsports Madness on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We'll be back right after this.
I knew some people would question it. I knew some people wouldn't approve. It's not just a number. It's a symbol for a great man who did great things. I don't want to erase that. I want to add to it. And I want to make my own name. I knew it wouldn't be easy, and that's why I wanted it.
Austin Dillon with a checkered flag.
Can.
This year, winning means more, and Kyle Busch would do anything to win. He'd steal a lead on a restart. He'd save an out-of-control race car. He'd get a neck tattoo of himself winning so he'll feel guilty if he loses. He'd even call another driver's house 30 times in a row the night before a race.
Who is this? Who's this?
If it would help him win, he'd do it. Because Kyle Busch would do anything to win.
For every turn, a twist. For every start, an untimely finish. For every win, someone who loses it. For every number, a nation. For every celebration, a brawl. For every split second, years of work. For every heaven, a hell. For every good old boy, a good old girl. For every curse, a prayer. For every ounce of order, a jug of chaos. For every twist, there's a turn.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio, your home for motorsports.
My name is Joe Thompson. I'm 29 years old and have a career that I love as a systems analyst. Career. It still sounds cool to say that word. I never could have gotten on this path without a college degree. And if the college me were here, he'd tell you.
I never would have gotten to college without Big Brothers Big Sisters. I could have ended up anywhere, on the streets even. But college? Joe Thompson? Not likely. My big brother helped me out. He taught me I could do anything, at a time when a lot of people were saying just the opposite.
And to a 7-year-old, that means a lot. My big brother's name is Phil, and Phil is the reason that this 7-year-old grows up to be a systems analyst.
Whether you donate money or time, you're helping Big Brothers Big Sisters help a child, and that can last a lifetime. Start something today at BigBrothersBigSisters.org. Brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Ad Council.
Maybe you know who we are.
But do you know who we really are?
We're ladies.
And not so gentle men.
We're a mad scientist.
We're outlaws turned heroes.
We're part athlete.
Part astronaut. And all show off.
We're a flash mob. We're bigger than most towns. We're everything.
You never expect.
He slammed into the jet drop.
We're always testing the limits. And each other.
We're the unknown coming at you at 200 miles per hour.
We're fire. We're smoke.
Nerves colliding with steel.
We're the loudest party on earth.
We live at the corner of Mayhem and Maine.
Oh no! They crossed the line, and guess who wins the race?
Where anything can happen. It usually does.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Motorsports Madness here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Tom Baker and Jacob Seelman with you for one final segment this evening, and a big segment it is because we travel north to talk some big block dirt car modified racing. The New York State Fairgrounds every year just explodes with excitement over this past week and weekend as Super Dirt Week kicks into high gear. 3 or 4 satellite races for various divisions at different tracks around the central New York area, and it all culminates with the Super Dirt Week weekend at the New York State Fairgrounds on the Moody Mile. And, of course, the biggest race of the weekend, Sunday's Syracuse 200, and one of the biggest upsets in quite a while at the New York State Fairgrounds took place this past Sunday. Machine Gun Billy Dunn, a driver that probably everybody would have thought would be in the hunt, but not a lot of people would have bet a small fortune on to come home with a win, turns heartbreak on Saturday when he ran dry with the fastest car into an upset victory on Sunday when he played a different pit strategy and everyone else ran out of fuel. Billy Dunn, welcome to the show. Congratulations on a huge victory.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Talk about, well, first of all, let's go back a little bit and talk about Saturday. Of course, Saturday, for those who don't know, is the small block 358 modified. You were in that event, and just a dominant race car, ran out of fuel near the end. Talk a little bit about that scenario and what happened in that event.
Yeah, Saturday's race was quite the heartbreaker. We had a really, really good car, but it's just one of them things when whenever the caution comes out early in the race and you got a good car, you got to pit for gas then. And we had a good pit stop, came back out, and once everything cycled through, we were third. able to get by Brett Hurd and Ronnie Johnson for the lead. And, we conserved as long as we could, and had the pace of the race slowed down, and just didn't quite make it. Ran out of gas coming to take the white flag.
Oh, man, I can't even imagine what that's like. Having been a racer myself, never been in that position by any means, but man, that just even imagining that in a big race like that. But then, of course, on Sunday, it's just funny how Lady Luck works sometimes, and it all kind of comes back around to you. And on Sunday, you took advantage of some others' misfortune in terms of fuel mileage, but it wasn't just random luck. Craig Palmieri and the team did a great job of strategizing. What did you do differently on Sunday in order to put yourself in a position to know that you were going to have enough fuel to go the distance at the end?
Yeah, we just we knew all week long we weren't getting great fuel mileage with the big block, and then after Saturday's race and even last year's small block race, we finished second. And Bob McCready always told me at Syracuse, you just got to put yourself in position to win, and then after that, whatever happens, happens. And I told the guys that Saturday, we put ourselves in position to win, and just things didn't go our way, so we had to come up with a strategy to put ourselves in position to possibly win on Sunday, and that was to, we took gas with about 30 laps to go, and on Sunday they gave us the option to put on a softer right rear tire, which we put that on, and we had a good enough car. We could pass quite a few cars once we came back out and got to the top 5 with about 10 to go, which is actually sooner than I thought I'd probably get there, and we're able to maybe make them pick up the pace a little bit, because I was pretty much running wide open, and luckily for us, everybody in front of us ran out of gas.
Well, I can't. Running wide open on the Syracuse Smile. Wow, that is one thrill I would love to cross off my bucket list before the good Lord calls me home. That must have been quite a ride. And I gotta ask you. I mean, when you took the lead and realized that you were in a position to win this thing, I mean, what was going through your mind? I mean, was there ever a point where you kind of where you had a moment to let it sink in, or were you just trying to get to the finish there?
I can't remember exactly when I got the lead. It was either 4 laps to go or 5 laps to go. And, they're telling me on the radio, you got a straightaway lead, more than a straightaway lead, slow down. But, with everybody running out of gas, you don't know if somebody's going to stop on the racetrack and bring on a caution. So for me, I had no reason to conserve. I was just trying to get to the white flag as quick as I could, just to make sure that once I got to the white flag, I knew if the caution came out, the race was pretty much over. So once I took the white flag, I backed it down a little bit, and that last lap was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I bet it was. I mean, that had to be sweet, seeing the checkered flag and knowing where you've come from, because you guys don't have the kind of dollars that in many cases you're running against. I mean, you guys have done this as a family and really, for a long time. And of course, your father, Norm, has been around the racing scene up there forever and has just done so much for so many people. And you guys are just really popular folks. And it just, I know that the crowd, the reaction had to have been deafening up there for your victory. And talk a little bit, I know you didn't do it alone, so we always like to give our drivers a chance to talk about the crew, their sponsors, anybody that they'd like to mention. And I'm sure you got a laundry list there, considering all that goes into even making it to a race like this, let alone going ahead and winning the thing.
Oh, there's a big group of supporters behind me that have helped me achieve my dream. Sponsor-wise, I got a lot of sponsors and a lot of help. Fast Lube of Watertown, Number One Speed, Integra Racing Shocks, Bicknell Racing Products. I can't even name them all. And my crew, they worked their tails off all week. They worked hard the last month getting ready for Syracuse, and knowing we've been fast there the last couple of years, and we just had to really, really concentrate on making sure we did everything right this year, and we did. So I can't thank them enough, and especially my dad and my Uncle Tim, my Uncle Vaughn. They've been behind me my whole career, and I couldn't do it without any of them.
Well, you've come a long way since we were all running go-karts around Frozen Ocean Motorsports Park back about 12 years. And just really enjoyable to see you guys have that kind of a day. And what a beautiful week it was. Just great weather all week long. Some outstanding racing at all the tracks. And, of course, it all culminated with your victory at the Syracuse 200. Billy, congratulations on a fantastic run. And I hope that you really get some time to sit down and enjoy this, because I'm sure this will be one that you'll never forget.
Oh, absolutely not. Like I've told everybody else, just about every hero I've ever had in dirt racing is one at Syracuse, and it's about it's the dream I've had since I was old enough to even know what it was really all about, and just to even have the chance to race there and be in position to win, to me, was pretty special. But to have it unfold the way it unfolded and to win it is early, I still think it's pretty, hopefully early in my career, is very special, and I'll never forget it.
Well, we're certainly appreciative that you took some time to come on the Motorsports Madness show with us and talk a little bit about it. And again, congratulations, and we hope that this won't be the last time we'll be talking to you after a major dirt car victory like that.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's Billy Dunn and Jacob. I know that a lot of our audience probably won't really be familiar with Billy, but just a super nice family. He and his father Norm been around for quite a while, and number one Speed, just really doing a great job up there. Billy has over the last few years in the dirt cars and really come into his own, and really want to congratulate Craig Palmieri and all of the team as well. They're just such great people and such ardent supporters of the Dirt Series. And it's just always cool to see the underdog pull it off. And not to say that, he isn't fast or hasn't been up front before, but, when you look at all of the high-dollar teams that compete in that series, and you see Billy out there really just getting 100% out of the equipment, and the team working so hard, and like he said, they had to literally put everything together and do everything right in order to pull this off, and it was really great to hear that he got the win. You never like to see others fall out, but great job for Billy and the group, and just probably one of the nicest Super Dirt Weeks weather-wise in a long time, and just some great racing, and can't wait for next year. I want to throw a shout-out here, Jacob, to Stephen Ovens as well, our correspondent for Race Chaser Online up in New York. Just did an amazing job. Audio, a lot of great recaps, was just a maniac up there handling it for us, and we're hoping to get them some reinforcements for next year and really step it up for Super Dirt Week. But just a tremendous weekend in Syracuse, New York, up in the Salt City there, and all over but the shouting now, and just the memories will live on for sure for the Dunn family and all of the folks that were involved with that.
That they will, and that's going to bring out the checkered flag on tonight's edition of Motorsports Madness. For Tom Baker, Joel Sebastianelli, all the staff at Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online that makes it happen, I'm Jacob Seelman, inviting all you race fans to keep it off the wall until we meet again, and have a safe racing weekend. We'll see you on Thursday night for the SRI Motorsports Report. Until then, so long!